The Galactic Empire stood tall and unchallenged, ruling over countless planets, spreading its iron grip across the stars, crushing rebellions with swift brutality, imposing its will upon those who dared to resist. One such act of control and domination led them to a small, insignificant planet on the outer rim, where whispers of defiance had begun to spread, where people longed for freedom, where a woman named Lysera had become a beacon of hope, standing against oppression, refusing to bow before the might of the Empire. She was a teacher, a healer, a leader. She had no weapons, no army, no ships to call her own, only words, only courage, only the unbreakable spirit that inspired others to stand. But to the Empire, any voice that rose against them was a threat to be silenced swiftly, mercilessly, and without question. So the order was given. The enforcers descended upon the planet, dragging Lysera from her home as her people watched in horror as her students wept, as her friends pleaded for mercy. The Empire does not show mercy. The trial was a formality, an empty gesture, cruel performance. Before the inevitable verdict was reached, guilty of sedition, guilty of treason, guilty of standing against the Empire, she was sentenced to death by hanging. The execution was public. It was meant to send a message to all who watched, to all who dared to dream of resistance. But what the Empire failed to realize was that Lysera was not alone. Her husband, a man they had never known, was watching from the shadows, a man who had once been a name whispered in fear, a man whose past was drenched in blood, a man who had turned away from war, but would now return with vengeance. His name was General Kale Veros. He had fought in the Great Wars. He had led armies. He had crushed foes with ruthless efficiency, before vanishing into obscurity, before seeking a life of peace alongside the woman he loved. But peace was no longer an option. Peace had died with Lysera, and in its place rose a fury that could burn the stars. He watched as the Empire took her life, and in that moment, he made a vow that the Empire would pay, a vow that every soldier, every commander, every official who had played a part in this atrocity would face a reckoning unlike any before. He disappeared into the void, vanishing like a phantom. Whispers spread through the underworld. The ghost general had returned. But this time, he did not fight for a flag or a government or a cause. He fought for vengeance. He fought for love. He fought for the memory of the woman who had given him hope, and for the Empire that hope would turn into their greatest nightmare. Across the galaxy, outposts fell one by one. Assassinations struck at the heart of Imperial command supply lines. Crumbled entire battalions vanished without a trace. They tried to stop him. They sent fleets. They deployed legions. They hunted him like an animal. But they could never find him, for he was not a man. He was the storm. He was the shadow in the void. He was the wrath of a vengeful soul. And as the Empire reeled, as its power trembled, as its leaders cowered behind their walls, they finally realized the mistake they had made. They had hanged a woman believing it would break the spirit of a rebellion, believing it would tighten their grip upon the galaxy. But instead, they had forged a legend. They had unleashed a force of destruction. They had created the one enemy they could never defeat, the husband of the woman they had executed. And he was coming for them. All the Empire's forces scrambled to prepare defenses, setting up traps, fortifying strongholds. But none of it mattered, because Kale was not coming with an army. He was coming with precision, with fury, with an intelligence honed from years of warfare. He struck where they least expected, disabling communication networks, severing strategic control points, forcing their once mighty fleets to stumble in the dark. He became the whispered terror in every outpost, the unseen shadow haunting every command center. Generals and admirals turned on each other in paranoia, and sure of who among them might be Kale's next target. Planets under Imperial rule erupted into chaos. As the Empire's grip weakened, the people rose, emboldened by the destruction left in Kale's wake. The rebellion spread like wildfire. But still, Kale was not satisfied. He wanted the emperor himself, the one who had given the order, the one who had dared to take his wife's life. He infiltrated the imperial palace, evading every security measure, reaching the throne room where the emperor sat in gilded arrogance. The two men faced each other, one a ruler of countless worlds, the other a man who had become legend. And in that moment the empire's fate was sealed.